Kickstarter campaign for Keanu Reeves' Berserk comic book is under fire from industry professionals. The crowdfunding for Keanu Reeves' Berserk comic book has been so successful it's pissing off the comic book industry. Let's go, guys. Hello guys, don't forget to like this video, don't forget to subscribe, and hit that little bell right there so that you can get notifications every time I upload a video. Okay? Enjoy. Keanu Reeves successfully crowdfunding an entire comic book project basically shows that there's something definitely wrong with the comic book industry, as it is absolutely just failing here in America. You know, manga. Of course, I always talk about manga on this channel because, of course, I'm an anime fan. I prefer anime and manga, but I grew up with the American stuff as well. You know, the superhero stuff. You know, comic books, the Justice League, cartoons on Cartoon Network. You know, the whole thing. And you know, as you all know, the comic book industry has been going down, and this is before the pandemic. Like, I know the pandemic forced a lot of comic book stores to close. However, it's been really bad. I'm talking about, you know, comic book artists attacking their own fans on Twitter, on the internet, on social media. I'm talking about just releasing titles that, you know, with political agendas. And I don't want to get political in this video, but the point is that Keanu Reeves basically created the Berserk comic book to break away from the system. So he crowdfunded it, and you know, he got an artist. I believe he wrote it himself. I'm not exactly sure, but the main character is the man himself, Keanu Reeves. Now, some might say, well, that's kind of narcissistic that he make a comic book about himself. Well, yeah, well, guess what? He's an actor, so of course he wants to create a project that will then become a movie that he can play as the main character. That way, he doesn't have to rely on Hollywood. He doesn't have to rely on Hollywood. And I think a lot of people are actually doing this. A lot of people are trying to break away from the contracts and basically create their own projects. And nowadays it's just easier than ever to self-publish. Whether if it's a novel, a comic book, a manga, videos, films, everything. You can pretty much self-publish anything. Almost, I'm gonna say almost without any restrictions, unless you're publishing on Amazon Kindle, which, you know, but you can pretty much self-publish anything nowadays. You can crowdfund anything nowadays. You just gotta do the marketing. So the Berserk comic book made well over $1 million in crowdfunding, and it has tens of thousands of people who funded it. And the average comic book just doesn't. I was looking at some statistics about the average comic book, and many comic books don't make it to the six-figure units. You know, they'll sell 10,000, 50,000, but if they're lucky, if a comic book is lucky enough, it can sell up to 100,000 copies. But the average comic book will sell, four figures, like 8,000 copies, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000. And if the publisher is lucky enough, they'll sell 100,000 copies of that comic book. As opposed to anime and manga, well, manga in this case, manga sells by the millions. Manga will sell by the six-figure digits, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 for new titles, and then for the really popular titles, it sells in the millions. Okay, comic book does not have that reach, and it's kind of funny because people watch, comic books. People watch superhero movies, Avengers, Superman, Iron Man, Batman, all this stuff, and sure, people watch those movies, and they'll watch WandaVision, and they'll watch, the Justice League movie or whatever, but they won't go to the comic book store and pick up a comic book. That's just how it is. And it goes to show you that there's something absolutely wrong in the comic book industry as to why people are just not buying a lot of comic books. Now, some will argue, yeah, well, the comic books make $1 billion a year. Yeah, you know what? $1 billion is actually not a lot. When you look at the overall numbers and how many copies are sold, all of that together, $1 billion is actually not a lot of money. Okay, when you have a manga like Jujutsu Kaisen that is especially brand freaking new, selling in the millions, there is absolutely something wrong as to the popularity in comic books. So Keanu Reeves, the point of this video is that Keanu Reeves is showing the future of success with comic books. Okay, to be successful in comic books nowadays, especially if you are if you want to self-publish, crowdfunding is the way to go. Indie is the way to go. Self-publishing is the way to go, because a lot of comic book companies, they're just not creating anything that people want. Okay, they're not creating anything that people want. Manga and juvenile comic books and books, they sell way more than the comic books themselves. Okay, that's just a fact. Okay, and I'm not making this up. You can look up the numbers yourself. But when when manga is reaching the millions and comic books with these superhero movies, I mean, take a look at Avengers. It broke box offices. I think it made more money than the Titanic, more money than like Harry Potter, more money than a lot of franchises, I believe. The Avengers movie. And still people won't go and pick up, they won't go and pick up an Iron Man comic. Again, comic books don't sell in the millions. They sell in the tens of thousands. 10,000, 50,000, and sometimes 100,000. So, looking at how Keanu Reeves is doing it, without one of the big publishing houses, without Diamond, I think it's called, the big comic book publisher, without Marvel and DC and all these, and all the big comic book publishers, comic book companies, he's found a lot of success. And he already has a deal with Netflix to make the Berserk comic book movie. And I think this is the future for not just for celebrities, because a lot of celebrities just trying to do their own thing, but this is also the future for a lot of people. If you're a comic book artist working for Marvel, Disney, or DC, if you break away, this could be a really great way to get yourself started. And and reach a larger audience, a worldwide audience at that. Because I don't know if you know, but outside of America, comic books are actually not that popular. Okay, and a lot of people don't know this, but that's how it is. And I think that's one of the reasons why manga just sells more. Manga is actually worldwide: North America, South America, many English-speaking countries, and Spanish-speaking countries. So maybe we should learn from Keanu Reeves. And if you have a project, it's not a bad idea to crowdfund. This is Andy Matrix. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think, guys. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.